Good evening, Britannia, and hello to the rest of the world. Welcome to 2CTV, your global news channel. The British Broadcasting Corporation have been exposed after funding the Taliban in Afghanistan. There are now resignations that have started at the top of the BBC at the executive level, and Gary Lineker has hit back at the corporation and is now demanding the return of the Gaza documentary defending the Islamists in Gaza. Ladies and gentlemen, there is so much to unpack here. We're going to give you guys the latest update on this BBC scandal, which the BBC is the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, they are really helping this channel with a lot of content. Every single day, I'm trying to focus on my work, and the BBC come out with more nonsense, more scandals, more crises. So we have to talk about this. People need to know the truth. So we're going to talk about this. All right, first things first, why would you even watch the BBC? It's just a waste of time. The best thing you can do for yourself, for your family, and for your country is to watch 2CTV, but also 2CTV Plus, because we have a new documentary coming out this Sunday, 9 p.m. UK time, called Groomed, which is presented and produced by the brilliant Sammy Woodhouse. You can watch that by going on 2c.tv. The link is in the description, of course, and you can use the promo code DOC10 to get 10% off annual subscription on 2CTV Plus. All right, let's talk about these so-called legacy media experts. The wisdom is here, guys. Oh, look at this building. The BBC, who have been in a bit of a turmoil over the last few days because of essentially their support for Hamas in Gaza. That didn't go too well with that documentary. I mean, if you can call that a documentary, it wasn't that realistic. It was an orchestrated propaganda piece. We've already talked about that, but there is more chaos now. Resignations from the executive side. We'll talk about that, but the Taliban side, that is interesting. So the BBC, the world servers, have to pander to certain dictators in order to be able to be present in their countries. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to pay into the propaganda wing of those dictatorships, but that's what the BBC have decided to do in Afghanistan. Since the fall of Afghanistan and the takeover by the Taliban, the BBC are paying money to their propaganda wing of the Taliban to ensure it can continue broadcasting in Afghanistan. Really? So is this blackmail? Well, technically extortion, right? So the Taliban are saying, if you want to stay in Afghanistan, don't know why you would, you have to pay us. And the BBC says, sure, of course, Mr. Taliban. Yes, how much do you want? Millions? Billions? What about it, right? You don't have to do it. Send your freelance reporters when something important happens in Afghanistan. Send them there as journalists and they will be protected. Get the news, come back out. But they want to do broadcasting from Afghanistan. Who wants to watch that? Oh, we are live from Kabul. It's not a good idea anyway. Why would you do this? It's not like the BBC is in Iran right now doing broadcasting from Iran, because they have their own propaganda wing, BBC Persian, which is supporting the Islamic Republic. But they're based in London. Even they're not stupid. They're not going to go to Iran. Anyway, this continues. The BBC remains able to broadcast from Afghanistan in part because of payments to the Radio and Television of Afghanistan, or the RTA. Very original name, by the way. This is the official state broadcasting outlet. Why? Why should they use their infrastructure? If there's going to be any payments, right, for rental, for permission, for license, first things first, it should go directly to the government, which is still Taliban, I know. But why should they pay their state TV and radio outlets? That becomes a bit of an issue. So obviously they're going to use that to improve their own TV. I don't know what they're doing right now in Afghanistan, but I think they can do with some BBC money. Which means, by the way, you're all paying for it, even if you don't pay the license fee, because your tax money still goes to the BBC anyway, from general taxation. It's not just a license fee payers that pay for the BBC, and across the world as well. If you're in a Western government that funds the BBC, you're also basically paying the Taliban. So I hope you're happy. So, now, having said that, The Taxpayers Alliance hit back. Elliot Keck, the head of campaigns, saying taxpayers will feel sick to the stomach by what the BBC is doing in Afghanistan. The BBC is funding what is effectively the propaganda wing of the Taliban. If the price of remaining in Afghanistan involves bending over backwards to Taliban demands, then the BBC should consider pulling out. Now, I could make a very good joke about bending over in front of the Taliban and pulling out, but I'm not going to, because I'm a grown-up and this is a very serious channel. But it's probably best not to bend over in front of the Taliban. You know how they are. They get excited. The BBC spokesperson came out to defend the corporation's position, saying the BBC is editorially independent throughout its programming, irrespective of the language service, and remains the only international news media organization still broadcasting inside Afghanistan. Why are they bragging about this? There is a reason why no other serious international outlet is operating from inside Afghanistan anymore. Why do we have to have the BBC there? I love how they're saying, well, this is so good, we are the only ones left in Afghanistan, nobody else is here. Why do you think they're not there? Even CNN is not there. And they're stupid. Even CNN. Goats don't want to stay in Afghanistan. If they had a choice, goats will leave. Goats will become refugees, but they can't. The BBC is going down massively, and they know it. That's why everybody is already leaving. They're jumping the ships because they know that there is no future for their own portfolio and their CV. So we had a big resignation earlier today. Charlotte Moore has officially resigned as the head of content at the BBC. This is very big. So it's been an honor, she says, to lead the BBC creatively as chief content officer at a time of unprecedented change, championing the very best British storytelling across radio and TV. Okay, she also says, I'm very proud of what we've achieved during my time at the helm, transforming our offer and supporting iPlayer to become the fastest growing streamer in the UK. She's very proud of what the BBC have achieved, the new friendship, special relationship with Hamas in Gaza, and helping grow Afghanistan's propaganda wing. So, great work, BBC. Absolutely proud of you. What else are you going to be doing? The return of Jimmy Savile. Somehow they're going to bring him back from the dead. Now, Tim Davie, the boss of the bosses of the BBC, came out to respond. He seems quite proud as well, by the way. Charlotte is a creative powerhouse and real visionary who has made a huge impact during her time at the BBC. Her commitment to homegrown storytelling is unrivaled, and she has a long track record of taking risks and supporting creatives both on and off screen. She has consistently pushed boundaries across genres and platforms to bring audiences on ambitious range and quality of programming. I mean, she's such a risk taker that she's been pushing boundaries, and her other executive friends, they literally crossed the boundaries in Afghanistan and in Gaza. Absolutely proud. Very nice. Now, MPs in Parliament are now speaking out. As expected, we had the Deputy Leader of Reform UK, Richard Tice, standing up in the chamber earlier today to hit back at the BBC and their propaganda. And of course, right behind him, we had a couple of the independent Islamist MPs, pro-Gaza, not happy about this speech. Let's go to Richard Tice.
Richard Tice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, the BBC has got it badly wrong since October the 7th with its treatment and description of Hamas as a terrorist organisation. Once again, we're told that lessons will be learned. Does the Secretary of State think the BBC is incompetent, negligent, or just riddled with anti-Semitism?
I've been absolutely clear with this House that I think the BBC has serious questions to answer. The Director General was very clear with me earlier this week that they do have serious questions to answer, and they intend to answer them in full, and I will make sure that that is the case.
So for the record, in case you didn't hear, serious questions must be answered. And if you didn't hear it again, 5 seconds later, serious questions must be answered. She's repeating herself. She's been saying the same thing for about a week. Oh, Lisa Nandy. So, all right. So that happened. And as you saw, the faces of the Islamist MPs are like, we don't like this question. Ask about goats. So not everybody at the BBC agrees with me or you, obviously. Some people are fighting back. The whole thing is falling apart. The House of Cards. Gary Lineker is leading the army of the middle-class metropolitan elite at the BBC to fight back against common sense. Gary Lineker wants the Hamas propaganda documentary to be put back on BBC iPlayer. How dare you remove this pro-Hamas lovely piece? So essentially, Gary Lineker and a few others got together to write a letter, angry letter, demanding the return of Hamas on the BBC. I'm not even joking. This is literally what is done. So we got Gary, we got Ruth Negga, Juliet Stevenson, many others, and of course, Miriam Margolyes, she's also another one, supposed to be a comedian apparently, are among the 500 film, TV and other media professionals calling on the BBC to reinstate its documentary on children and young people living in Gaza, describing it as an essential piece of journalism. I'm not even joking right now. 500 TV and radio personalities, mainstream legacy media, got together, had a meeting, had a couple of drinks and thought, so we've been hearing about all these scandals. The BBC did this documentary. Oh, they've been paying the Hamas and they got the Hamas people to actually do the propaganda. It was orchestrated. They faked the whole thing. And they also mistranslated the subtitles. And they had to remove it. So this is a big scandal. What should we do, Gary? Gary said, okay, guys, take another drink. We are going to bring it back. In the name of Hamas and Hezbollah, we will bring it back. We will make Jeremy Corbyn happy again. We will make Greta Thunberg proud of our campaign. And this is exactly what they've done. A letter was sent yesterday to the BBC executive, Samir Shah, Tim Davie, and Charlotte Moore. The same Charlotte Moore who's just resigned, by the way. As seen by The Guardian, describing it, the film, documentary, as an essential piece of journalism, offering an all-too-rare perspective on the lived experiences of Palestinians. Yeah, it's all-too-rare perspective because it was fake. It was a propaganda. Of course it's rare. Pallywood and BBC combined, it's a mess, and of course it is rare. The letter claims that some criticism of the documentary is based on racist assumptions and weaponization of identity. If you don't like Hamas propaganda to be shown by the BBC, you are racist. That's basically what they're saying, right? And that the Deputy Agriculture Minister and father of the teenager, who was the narrator, is a civil servant concerned with food production. Actually, no. You know what? I've got to give it to them. They are funny. They are original. They're trying their best. Gary Lineker and these other weirdos wrote a letter saying the Hamas deputy minister is just a civil servant who really cares about corn and avocado and lettuce. That's his job. That's basically all he does, right? He's not a terrorist. He really likes his cucumber. I'm sure he loves his cucumber. But they also said this broad brush rhetoric assumes that Palestinians hold administrative roles, are inherently complicit in violence, a racist trope that denies individuals their humanity and right to share their lived experience. Hang on. If you are now defending the Palestinians in the film, the Gazans, then why did you have to censor what they were actually saying? Why did you mistranslate what they were actually saying? If they are the real people of Gaza, they seem to be proud of it, then why did you have to lie about what they were saying when they were talking about the Jews? Not the Israeli forces, the Jews. Gary Lineker doesn't care. He's got millions of pounds. He loves his life. He thinks he can't be cancelled because even if he leaves his job, actually he's left his job now anyway, and he could just continue his campaign. He's going to be a philanthropist, right? All right, so lovely update from the socialist elites. Let me know your thoughts on cucumbers in Gaza, by the way, and the goats. All right, let's see. We got the Viking, by the way, in the super chat. He's already said it's his birthday. It says, it's my 40th birthday today. Can I get a shout out? No, you can't. Go away. For the record, the Viking is the 2CTV's official security and bodyguard. I love how in the profile picture, he actually has the whole uniform as well. Happy birthday, Viking. Thank you for your work. You're going to be very drunk tonight. Welsh says, Talia BBC, LOL. And then Hoffman says, hi everyone, stop paying your license fee. The thing is, that's not really going to stop anything because BBC takes money from general taxation now as well. So even if you don't pay the BBC through the license fee, you're still funding it. Because the Labour government decided not to change it. I mean, you can thank your Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. Ivan says, Gary Lineker needs to stay out of politics. He wasn't even a good footballer. Must have hit too many balls. To be fair, he did score a few good goals, but yeah, he is just irritating. I did actually like him as a commentator. He was very good as a presenter, but in terms of match of the day, but yeah, don't know what's going on with him. Anthony says, the BBC continues to show why they should be defunded. Exactly. If the state broadcaster is funding the Taliban just to get news from Afghanistan, they are showing British people that they can't be trusted. Absolutely spot on. Let me give you an option as a scenario. As you guys know, since Putin invaded Ukraine, 2021, 2022, whatever it was. Right, my brain doesn't work right now. We had the BBC and everybody else and the West in general cancelling not just the Russian government, but we cancelled all Russians. So at the beginning of the war, Russian local shops were being targeted in London and other places. Russians said, go away, you have to leave. Normal Russian people. Some could be pro-Putin, some could be anti-Putin, right? Now, in this situation, imagine you're the BBC and you say, well, we're going to go to Moscow and tell them we have to operate here, right? We're going to continue to operate in Moscow. And somehow the Kremlin says, sure, but you have to fund RT, Russia Today, in order to stay. I can assure you the BBC would say no, which is correct. That's the right thing to do. You say no, do not fund the RT. When Afghanistan said the Taliban, you have to fund the, whatever it's called, the radio and TV Afghanistan thing, RTA, they say, sure, yeah, sure. You see the double standards, right? You shouldn't do it with either. It's a bad idea. Don't fund other countries' state propaganda. It's just weird. Firstly, don't exist. The BBC shouldn't exist anymore anyway. Anyone, Maya, how long do you think we have to wait to be able to book tickets for Trump Gaza resorts? I've already booked mine, so 2027, baby. A 5-star, all-inclusive, free cocktails, first week of Gaza, Trump Gaza resorts. It's going to be great. It's going to be beautiful. And then Dubai will panic because Dubai has been leading the way as basically the center of not just business but also resorts in the Middle East. Goodbye, Dubai. That rhymes. I don't know what's going to happen with the whole thing. Obviously, that's not going to happen. We're not going to have a Trump Gaza resorts, but it's fun to think about it. Ivan, thank you very much for your super chats. And Vinnie King says, don't get this type of content and presenter on the BBC. Exactly. You don't get BBC presenters talking about Gaza and cucumbers and goats, right? Actually, the goats belong to the Taliban. Don't insult the Taliban. You know, the goats belong to them. Cucumbers belong to the Palestinians. And bananas, of course. If you know the joke, why are you gay? Why do incomers mean more than the natives? Why do the incomers mean more than the natives? I think you mean in terms of the value of the foreigners coming out because we are soft touch. That's why. All right, let's get some non-super chats. Machine Beard says nobody cares that Reagan was funding the Taliban with drug money since the 80s. No, of course not. Because firstly, that strategy backfired anyway, and everybody's been talking about it since the 80s. So the whole problem with the West, with trying to prop up nutters to fight against other nutters. So, for example, we funded the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, right, to make sure that the communists don't take over, and that backfired because all the likes of Taliban and Al-Qaeda came from the trainings that we gave them. But that happened all the time. That strategy coming from the Western side always failed, and now we are seeing the result. I mean, Reagan, if he were alive now, he wouldn't do it now, because he's not that stupid. But that was the go-to move by the State Department. Anyway, let's see, where are we with you guys? To be fair, Reagan's foreign policy had many flaws, let's just say, many mistakes when it came to foreign policy. Apart from, and also, big credit to Maggie when it came to the Gorbachev relationship, because a lot of focus goes towards Reagan and Gorbachev, but actually Thatcher was the key player, and she was the big element when it came to that relationship to bring down the Berlin Wall. And I still like Reagan. Domestic policy is perfect. Ivan says, what food do they produce in Palestine? Well, they say watermelon, even though it's actually Israeli, but hence the watermelon emojis and flags that they wear. Delusional. Luke says the BBC has no legitimacy in the world. The staff know the winds are changing and don't want to be accountable when the time comes. 2C has frightened the misinformation peddlers they employ. Exactly. Also, the problem with the BBC is it used to be a sustainable job for employees, but not anymore. Because if you stay in the BBC for a long time and your CV is just BBC experience, it used to be a good thing. It's no longer a good thing, because we're moving towards new media. And by new media, I also include corporate new media like Netflix and Amazon Prime. These guys, they're still challenging the legacy media. And they don't really want people who have just worked at the BBC. It doesn't really help. It's not really because of the credibility of the BBC, it's because they are still living in the analog world. You don't really learn anything new by being part of the BBC. And they used to join the BBC to also learn how to become journalists, which is a very, very stupid idea to do. You shouldn't really join the BBC to become, as in written journalists, like, and in terms of press, it makes no sense. Go join one of the newspapers to get training. The BBC's broadcast journalism experience is also just about propaganda. So what's the point? You won't gain anything by getting trained by the BBC anymore. Aaron says Epstein list released. How many BBC lefties on it? The thing is, they had to be big enough to be on that list. They're not going to invite the interns, right? I'm an Israeli Jew. Good. And I love you so much. You fight for the truth and you bring light to the world. We admire you in Israel. Thank you very much. Hopefully I'll see you guys soon, as we will be planning to visit the land of Israelites shortly, in a couple of months, weeks. I'll let you know. All right. Saying God is great while killing innocent people is just so wrong. Even God hates it. That's perfect. Yeah. Gave Israel into the hand of Islam to sweep away the Christians while they expand to the greater Israel. Lebanon will fall, then Egypt. To be fair, Egypt fell a while ago. But yeah. Oh, look at that. Fiona is doing advertising for us. This is why I love this channel. Fiona says join 2CTV. No, join 2CTV Plus, not 2CTV. This is 2CTV. You're already watching 2CTV. Don't become a member here. The best thing you can do is join 2CTV Plus. Where is the thing that I have always on the screen? There we go. That's 2CTV Plus. You get the logo, it's different. By going on 2C.tv, you can join 2CTV Plus. And if you use the promo code DOC10, you get 10% off annual subscriptions. And of course, you can also watch our upcoming documentary Groomed, presented and produced by Sammy Woodhouse. Use the promo code DOC10 to get 10% off, and we got big plans as well. But by the way, we're improving the whole website, and you know what I'm about to say, right? Yeah, the app is coming. That's all I can say. The app is coming, the website is being improved, everything's been beautiful, and the BBC are terrified, 2CTV is on fire. That's my rant. All right. Back to you, beautiful people, and the trolls. Do we have any trolls? United States subsidizes Afghanistan. Will you drag them too? Is it my job to drag them? Yes, it's bad. The US shouldn't fund Afghanistan. Naughty America. And obviously, Doge is now on top of it, and Elon. So let's see what sort of cuts they can make. Steve says 2CTV Plus is like LGBT Plus. You forgot the Q. I think they also have an I now. LGBTQI Plus. Oh no, the whole point of plus was, you can say LGBT Plus. Or you could get rid of the plus and just add all the letters. No, 2CTV Plus doesn't make you gay, for the record. There's nothing wrong with being gay, by the way. All right. What's there to see on 2CTV? Oh, that almost rhymed. What do we have? Should I just post a screenshot for those who don't know what we are doing? We have the chat forum, firstly. Obviously, don't forget about that. What am I doing here? This is not helping. Okay, so obviously you can join the chat forum, talk to like-minded people. I'm usually on it every Sunday as well. Sometimes I just jump on the chat every now and then. I'm just posting the... There we go. I'm going to get these ready for you. RP, you asked a question, right? We've got documentaries coming up more. So we got all these premium shows. A lot of them can't really post on YouTube because it would get censored. The latest one we had was Net Zero Lies, the decline of Western education, Marxist takeover of arts. So we have the global Islamic takeover, the origins of anti-Semitism, rise of globalism. And there is a few more. Actually, our first original documentary, which I'm very proud of. We had a good team, Stephen Prince, who helped us, where is it? There we go. The one on the right. Britain's multiculturalism myth. And of course, we had the free speech one. But so I'll give you a preview of what's in the pipeline. We are now going to be pumping out content like there's no tomorrow. But they're all going to be well-produced, high-quality documentaries. So we've done, obviously, some smaller content, which is on the website now. We've got the Groomed, which is coming out this Sunday. It's obviously about the grooming gang, especially one story about one individual victim, Jodie Sheeran, in Stoke. But we have one about the veterans being abandoned by the politicians and the establishment. We have one about cancel. That's about cancel culture, as you can imagine, and a few other things, including Israel. We're going to do a documentary on that as well in terms of what's going on with the rise of anti-Semitism. We've got one, which I can't go into details yet, but it's about big pharmaceutical companies. We're exposing a very huge scandal that it's been discussed, but nobody's actually doing anything about it. We'll be talking about all that. But we have plans to at least release one documentary a month and hopefully a couple of shorter content as well. So we have something... we are adding more regularly than Netflix. So obviously with the new app coming out soon as well, this will make it easier for you guys to also access it wherever you are, however you are, want to watch it. So hopefully you can support us by joining 2CTV Plus by going on down there, little one, 2c.tv. Go check it out, guys. All right, what did I do here? The Viking says, join 2CTV Plus to get access to the private Discord. Yes, that's the other thing as well. The chat forum. We can join to talk nonsense with the Viking and the others. There's a lot of memes. There's a lot of weird things that happens on that Discord. Craig, thank you very much. Craig Sheen. Going back to some non-super chat people. Andy says BBC equals a bloody BS corporation. Yep. What? Citizen-sponsored TV is an excellent idea, but just like the church and politicians, it has been hijacked by finance. But everybody, well, they still need to be paid. Somebody needs to pay them. They can't just walk around, do things for free. It makes no sense. They need to eat, citizen journalists as well. But what you need is the business model, the subscription model, like Netflix, or obviously 2CTV Plus or Daily Wire. That's the best way to do it, because you don't really want to ask people to support you for the sake of supporting you. I mean, there's nothing wrong with donations. There's nothing wrong with, I don't know, getting funding in that sense, but it's not really sustainable. I mean, it's not in my character anyway. I'd rather have a business. I'd rather have a product to give you guys, again, like Netflix, but better. So that's the best way for new media to continue and grow and take over. Because then you can just stay, whatever you are, on your own and just ask people to pay your work. There's nothing wrong with it. Some people can do it, but you won't get anywhere really. So it's best to actually have a proper, if you want to compete against the corporate legacy media. You have to actually be able to create a product that people want to use rather than just support you because you're beautiful. You know, call me. All right, next one. Supporter of real news and UK's freedom. Thank you, V Maiden, for that. Also considering obviously YouTube, because of the nature of the channel, obviously geopolitical news, a lot of the videos are very it's just controversial for the guidelines of YouTube. We don't really get monetized. You still get the ads, by the way. You still see the ads, but we don't really get the monetization all the time. So if it went for the actual 2CTV Plus as a platform, it would be very difficult as a business for the whole team to actually continue to live. Otherwise, they'll starve. Not like the Gazans who are somehow gaining weight during this genocide. Speaking of which, ladies and gentlemen, I need to go eat. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maya 2C, and we are the media.